Hello and welcome to the latest of our Q&A sessions during lockdown. We hope on behalf of the club and certainly the coaching team that you and your loved ones are doing well during what has obviously been a very difficult time during this pandemic. I'd just like to welcome Mark Irish, the new scrum and forwards coach, and Matt Sherratt, the attack coach. I'd like to thank Bob Lowe, Lewis Searle, Dan Cale, Simon Davis, Ed Butcher, Christopher Gard and AJ Bailey for contributing to the questions. Before we start, I just want to reference obviously the tragic news about Cecil. I found out on Sunday afternoon when Alan Solomon sent me a message, and really hit me on the day because I'd only spoken probably about 3 weeks previous to Cecil on the phone. He was in good spirits. He was so optimistic about the way the direction which the club was heading. He was always so, when I was here as a player sort of 7 years ago, always so supportive and optimistic, even during the tough times. And that's what men of true integrity and support do. They give you that support and belief, and that was just him and the man, let alone what he'd achieved in his own life as a businessman, and certainly at Sixways, everything that he created in terms of taking the team from humble beginnings right through to where the club is today, a sustainable Premiership team, and certainly one that wants to kick on. And he was massively passionate about, when I spoke to him, actually he reminisced a little bit and talked about his dream was still for the club to go on and win the Premiership one day, and he was referencing obviously what Exeter had achieved, and he was still massively ambitious and excited about the future of the club. And I think just on behalf of us all, we just want to pay our respects and our condolences to Cecil's family, Beatrice and his children. And I don't think we'll never see the likes of someone like Cecil again. I think just a jockey, you started your coaching career here when as a young lad. What sort of memories do you have of Cecil?
Probably just the biggest thing for me, I come here first of all in 2003, so I think it was 6 years into Cecil's tenure, and what really made an impact on me was it wasn't just about the rugby. So I've probably seen him from the other side of it. I actually worked in the community department when I first came in, and because of the type of person he was, he took an interest in every aspect of the club. So everyone who worked at the club, be it at that time a Chris Latham or a Rico Gear, to someone who worked in the ticket office, he was there and available to everyone. And that was the thing that struck me the most as an owner chairman. He was really approachable and had a deep care of everyone who worked in at the club.
Yeah, and I think just on the last point would be the biggest thing, when you read all the stuff that, it's been, all the kind words that people have written, is just what a wonderful legacy that he's left. And I think it's really important now. Sometimes as coaches and as players, you turn up and you get ground down sometimes in the day-to-day works of the job, and I think it's really important for us, all of us within this club, to add to the wonderful legacy that Cecil's left and continue. It's really important for us to make sure we leave our positions when we do move on in the future, leave the club in a much better place than we found it. And certainly I think that's what Cecil will be really proud of, and I think he's captured the hearts and minds of everyone in the club, and we'll never forget everything that Cecil's done for all of us. Okay, so some fun questions, some serious questions. So here we go, fellas. The first question. Okay, let's go. I'll take the first one. What have been the priorities that you have focused on during this very short close season? Okay, it's a good question. It's been for us as coaches, it's been a really challenging period. But I think as coaches, when we first came in, obviously back in June, the reality is everybody's in the same boat. All the teams are in this sort of unique position. And what we spoke about as coaches is not being victims and making the best of every situation that we've got. So the reality is we couldn't come in as coaches and flood the players with lots and lots of new information. So I think one of the things we really benefited from is that we're all really aligned in the way we see the game. We've got similar coaching philosophies, so that's helped massively. And I think we just tried to work to a really simple big picture message since we've come in, and obviously, you know, that's working alongside instilling sort of structures and systems as we go through, and that's sort of been an organic process. But it's been, again, challenging in terms of short off-season, short pre-season, quite a lot of social distance training stuff, so we've had a lot of challenges thrown at us, but we're really enjoying it. We've managed it in the best way we can, and when we're feeling really positive about the season ahead. Question 2, let's go with you, Jocks. Have you settled on your ideal starting 15 for London Irish, and which areas of the team have given you the biggest headaches?
I'll probably take us back to last season. The good thing about the last block was obviously we could have a look at the whole squad, and that was a real positive. So there's lots of players, young players and players we didn't know a massive amount about, that have poked their head up, and I think what we found as a coaching staff overall is that we've got a really strong squad here. To answer the question specifically, I think we're really open-minded on what the starting lineup is. You can see from our pre-season game at Saints on Friday night, we used 40 players, and genuinely all 40 come out and put the best foot forward. So listen, I think you've got a core of what you think your starting lineup is, but I think the great position this club's in with a good academy and a strong squad is that there will be changes along the way. As I said, we're still open-minded and still learning about the squad.
Yeah, I think it's been really exciting for us as coaches, hasn't it? Because when we signed, obviously a lot of people talked about the exciting young potential coming through at the club, and I think we took a stance, certainly during the last block, to make sure we gave everyone that opportunity, and you know, we took a couple of hits along the way, but I think as a whole it was a really beneficial process that we went through, and certainly the younger players will have benefited massively through those experiences, haven't they? And I think just what we're really enjoying with the young players is there's just a real spirit and energy that they bring, and I'm sure that will drive the more senior players on as well. Okay, Iro, question 3. Given the demands of the season, do you think we have the strength and depth in the squad to cope?
I think the guys have probably just answered that question. So with the unique situation of COVID hitting and then us coming back in for the post-lockdown period, we've got an opportunity, as Jockey mentioned, to look at the whole squad. And if you look at Friday that's just gone, the whole squad have had a run out, as Jockey's mentioned. So yeah, we're in a good position where we've learnt as coaches in a short space of time an awful lot about the group of players that we've got to work with, and with the new additions of Mark and with George coming in as well, you know, we're in a good place to move forward in the season.
So just quickly on that point as well, I think obviously with the nature of the last block, 9 games in 6 weeks, probably forced to make changes en masse, whereas ideally when you make changes it's probably 2 or 3 at a time. So hopefully in this block there'll be, obviously I think there's 19 games definitely to start with, so there will be an element of rotation, but especially with growing younger players, it's just adding 1 or 2 at a time rather than on block.
All right, next question for you, Jocks. To what extent do you agree with playing what's in front of you as opposed to playing to set patterns? Without
going midway, I think you have to have a little bit of both. So you have to have a system that covers the field. As you've seen probably from our last block of games, we've got some really exciting attackers. So you have to give them license as well to read the game. But I see my job is making sure we got the field covered, make sure that at any time we can take the space that's available to us as an attack. And then it's about upskilling the players, decision making and their basic skills, and aligning the group so they're seeing the same pictures. So within a framework, you obviously got to give players the ability to make decisions and trust their instincts.
Next question is for me. How are you managing the challenge of being the forwards and defence coach? Yeah, it's fair to say that my wife's not over the moon with the amount of workload that I'm taking home. But on a serious note, I think one of the biggest things for me as a coach, as a young coach, in my coaching philosophy is not to coach in isolation. And I think probably my first year coaching taught me that, is to make sure that I think the most powerful teams, or the successful teams, certainly the successful teams I've been involved with, are the ones where coaches don't coach in isolation. You all work to a bigger picture, and also you co-coach as well. So, for example, it's important to me to know what Jockey's attack philosophy is, so I can support his messages to the group. And likewise, obviously, myself and I have worked closely together over the last few years, and I think it's really important that I don't have all the answers. I bounce ideas off Iro, and likewise him to me. So I think, to answer the question, there's an element in our coaching group of sharing the workload, of co-coaching. Iro stepped up. That certainly helped me massively in terms of the forward stuff. Iro stepped up and gone above and beyond, helping out with the forwards, which has enabled me to do more of the defence. Next question. One for Iro. Which of the coaching team has the best singing voice and repertoire?
Good question. Obviously, with the block that we're in, and we haven't actually got a chance to know the staff as we probably would in a normal season. So just going on the past and knowing this person for quite a while, I'd go for Johnny Goodridge. So extremely posh Englishman, does some absolute classics, Oasis, Kings of Leon. If he was here, he'd probably give you a rundown of them.
All right, a couple more for all of us. Which aspect of our play has most improved since you've arrived? Forwards, without a doubt. What do you say? What do you reckon?
Scrum and more. That's it. Yeah.
No, obviously, just probably goes back to the point I made lastly. I think, again, since we've come in, the important thing is, with the limited time that we've had, is we build systems and structures that benefits the group, and the important thing for us is working to a big picture game identity that, attack complements defence and vice versa, and our set piece fits into that sort of big picture jigsaw. So and that's not me sitting on the fence. I generally mean that we're trying to grow our whole game, and all of us work towards that. What aspect of our play most needs to improve? Same answer really as the last one. Okay, Jockey and Iro, your thoughts on the next question. How long do you think it will take for our crop of talented academy players to come through and continue on that trajectory where they've been so successful through the age groups? Iro, you first.
I think I'd say it's really hard to put a timeline on it. For us as coaches, it's providing an environment where each day they can come in and grow and progress as players and challenge them in ways that they haven't been challenged before. But then it's also important that they get exposure, and as Jockey mentioned, giving them little snippets of game time in stronger teams. So in the Challenge Cup games, making sure the Prem Cup games, making sure that we've set them up in a way where they can go out and put their best foot forward. The timeline on that is obviously dependent on how well they go within those games, but how well they work away from here whilst they're in the environment, and just for us as coaches to provide a clear environment for them to grow.
Nice, mate. Jocks?
Just in general, I think it's something that the Worcester and the area in general should be really proud of. Obviously been some brilliant work going on at the local schools and local clubs, and I think, for example, watching Ollie Lawrence the weekend play for England, and Ted Hill involved in the England squad is fantastic for the area. We've also got a lot of good young players here at the moment, so the likes of say Finn Smith and Seb Atkinson, to name two, coming up, shows that, with Ollie and Ted being 21, 22, you've got young boys at 18 coming through. I think the academy and the schools and clubs, as I said, should be really proud of what they've produced here. Just to back Iro's point up, it's just about giving them the right type of opportunity now. So putting them in the right type of games with the right combinations around them, and knowing actually when they need a development spell as well.
And I think also on that, it's down to the players themselves. As Iro and Jockey said, we can provide the environment, the growth sort of environment for them to grow and to learn and improve, but really it comes down to the attitude of the player. You look at someone like Noah, since we've come in, he's had an opportunity and taken that opportunity with both hands, as of Ted and Ollie in the last sort of 12 months. But I think it's the old saying, isn't it, that talent gets you through the door, and then it's your mindset and attitude that keep you in the room. And I think That's definitely, you know, my experience as a player. You know, some of the great players that I played with, yes, they had talent, but really it was their mindset and their attitude and their hunger to get, even didn't matter what age they were, to get into the team. So we're really excited, as Jockey said, about the young players we have. There's also a responsibility on those guys to fulfil their potential. This is one for you.
Is it scrum related?
No, it's not. So I don't know why they've asked you. Okay, with defences being so pressured with line speed and well drilled, with very few missed tackles and scoring opportunities at a premium, what will your approach be to grind down the opposition and wait for the opportunities to come? I'm not sure that they think I started this question. They think I was the attack coach. What's your philosophy on that? Do you think that our approach will be to grind down the opposition and wait for the opportunities to come?
I think for us as coaches, we'd be aligned around the opposition that we're playing. So we'd look at the team that we're playing, come together and put a game plan together with what is the best way to beat this team, but then making sure that we've tactically prepared, physically, mentally prepared the team so that we're able to go out and execute that game plan.
Okay, the next one for Jockey. Do you see Jamie Shilcock as a fullback or a fly half?
It's the first time he's actually played this week against Saints. Obviously, unfortunately, he picked up a knock in the last block, and he played really well at 10 from previous experience of watching him over the last few years. Without sitting on the fence with it, I think he's comfortable in both positions. I think if you asked Shilly, he sees himself more as a 10 that can play 15, but he's shown in good quality Premiership games that he can play the position. He's a good rugby player, so just utilising him where he fits is a key for us.
And what the question hasn't asked is, and probably what a lot of people aren't aware of, is my last game as a player was Shilly was at the champ final against Bristol, where Shilly was actually a reserve 9. So Shilly came through as a 9 during that time. So as Jockey said, good players can play in most positions. Like Jockey, you could play anywhere in the back line, couldn't you?
Yeah, all the
back in the day. Last one. Who is your dream player to coach, and which one is your nightmare? Jocks?
For me, I would just say, so what's always really exciting and enthuses you as a coach is when you go to a club. You may have some seasoned internationals, so without name dropping, saying Alan Wynne-Jones at the Ospreys got 150 caps at the weekend, but when you watch him train and you watch his attitude towards learning, he's still like a new cap. As a coach, that's unbelievable to have, because it just helps the environment. And probably the nightmare player to coach would be the opposite of that, the player who thinks he knows it all and doesn't want to get better.
I'd probably just echo what you said there. I think I had a similar experience at Bristol a couple of years ago. Bristol signed George Smith, obviously the Australian open side, who, you know, he was 38 years old. He came in as a medical joker. He'd had 110 caps, and you're sort of going, right, you know, you're not sure how you're going to be able to, obviously as a young coach myself, you know, he's probably seen it all, done it all, and had numerous coaches in his career. But I was really impressed. One of the first things he said when he came in was, I'm still hungry to learn, I still want feedback, I still want to grow my game. And he just had in terms of that growth mindset, it was unbelievable for a guy of his age. And I think even after training, he was probably one of the last ones on the training field with the young back row forwards doing post tackle work, etc., etc. So I think it goes back to what we said about, he obviously talent gets you in the door, but your mindset and attitude is what keeps you in the room. And I think Alan Wynne, George Smith, it's no different really. That, you know, the longevity of a player sits with your mindset and your attitude for it to be in the sort of growth mindset. Okay, Iro?
Dream player for me to coach would be any front rower, with a growth mindset, wanting to learn day in, day out. And then the flip of that would be, the nightmare would be any player that's not front row. No, joking. Would be a player who comes in who's not with the same growth and same mindset to learn. Okay,
thanks Jockey. Thanks Iro. Thanks to everyone that sent in questions. We really enjoyed that. and just, I think the biggest thing, we're really excited about the start of this new season. Unfortunately, the one major downside to it is that we can't share it with you guys as supporters. We can't wait for the day that Sixways opens its gates again to all of the fantastic support and certainly the noise and the animation that you guys provide on match day. But in the meantime, just stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you guys at some point. We don't know when that is, but take care, and thanks very much again.